me at any point if anything seems interesting or you have questions about it. We can jump right in. I've got my email at the top. Happy to share the whole presentation with anybody interested. And we'll jump right in. So as Dewey mentioned, Premier Aquatics is my primary business. And Joe, I didn't ask you because I know. So unless you'd like to do an intro,
I can, yeah. I
please.
work for Ellison Associates. I'm based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm not there very often, but that's where I'm based out of.
Awesome. Thanks. So as Dewey mentioned, my first business was Premier Aquatics. We're a pool management company. About going on almost 5 years ago, we opened our first swim school. We have 3 swim schools now, and we're continuing to build. The challenge that the scratch I was looking to itch, I guess you could say, was I was having a really hard time with compliance, training, um, and really incentivization and motivation of my guards and my instructors. So one team initially was really called the app. It was just like a little internal app that we created. It's since kind of turned into a much bigger, broader system that tracks all things employment and performance. Um, so what I'm hoping you'll get out of this is I'm going the wrong direction. I'm hoping you'll rethink the way you hire. Um, I'm hoping that you'll rethink the way you manage your team and come up with some new ideas on how to do it and keep them motivated. And then what I know will happen if you can do those 2 things is your retention will skyrocket. It'll fly through the roof, and we've seen that. So we've seen with our users an increase of a 44% year-over-year increase in retention of their staff. With my staff, it's higher than that. We've just changed the way we do things. We've Aquatics is there's old school and new school, and there's really good stuff in both. We've worked really hard to kind of meld the 2 together. Now this is our org chart. I only show it because we're going to talk a little bit later about these meaningful conversations. But I have essentially 3 different teams that I operate. On the left-hand side is really my admin back office team, finance, marketing, HR, and so on. My lifeguard business is in the middle, and my swim school side is on the right-hand side. So there's a lot going on, and we're able to make it feel like a very small team. This is just our full-time staff. We'll scale up over 800 on the employee side. So where we hire, and this will be uncomfortable for some of you, but we do hiring on TikTok. Generally speaking, it's not me doing me on TikTok. We're letting our staff hijack it and create cool content for other potential staff. But we will literally cherry pick the people we want and allow them to use our TikTok account, put content out, and it does an incredible job of recruiting the younger generation. We do recruit on Facebook. We do sell on Facebook. But generally speaking, with regards to recruitment, we're not recruiting lifeguards on Facebook. We're recruiting their parents to basically push them towards jobs and things of that nature. So unfortunately, I know I'm not cool. I'm good with that. I'll say that a few times throughout the presentation. Recruiting to those parents has been a win for us. Google has had mixed reviews. We're tending to not spend too much money on Google anymore. We're finding that there's just too much noise there. And it's still, as silly as it sounds, it's still too much work for the employee to actually apply for a job through Google. That's a little bit slower process. So really what we've been finding the most success in is Indeed. And I'll show you our actual hiring statistics. And you'll see Indeed is by far and wide, it is the most successful place we recruit. A couple keys to hiring online if you're not doing this already. And I know I'm speaking to the crew that's here today, but I'm also speaking to the crew that may watch the video at a later time. You need to pay to play. Okay, so if you haven't allotted a budget for recruitment and just for finding staff, you're going to be stuck behind, unfortunately. I say don't try and take it on yourself, and I'm not suggesting you hire an agency or anybody like that to hire. But if you've got even just one person on your team that you can afford to give them 1 hour a day to help with recruitment, that's something that you should do, especially if they are closer to the generation of the person you're hiring. They're going to have way more success, and it's the way that they speak. It's the language that they use. There's words that I don't even understand that are now on our job ads. They make no sense to me. They're not even English to me. But other employees who are looking at it see that terminology in those words, and it makes sense to them, and they're instantly attracted to our organization because we use words like Riz and things like that, which again, I'm not cool. I don't even know what the hell it means, but it seems to work on the recruiting side. We say set a marketing budget. Okay, so we ask time and time again, what is the staff member worth to us in our organization? And on our swim school side, we can boil the math down like this. Every employee for me is worth $130,000 a year. Okay. And I went with round numbers, 52 weeks. We're open 50 weeks a year, but you get the idea. So if they work 3 shifts a week, they're 4-hour shifts, and there's 4 kids per class, which is what we tend to get. That staff member is worth $130,000. Now, we work backwards from that, and we set a marketing budget of 3% of gross revenue. And that money right off the top is taken away and put into a marketing fund, which is where we pull from. So we know what they're worth to us. We know what every lane is worth to us, and we work backwards and we fill the classes. We fill our recruiting classes. Okay, so it's really, really important that you're setting a marketing budget. You're understanding what it actually costs you to lose an employee, and then you work backwards. And then the last one, I already said it. I'll say it again. I think I say it 3 more times in here. Make it cool. I'm not cool, but just make the online presence cool. It's got to be something that speaks to your people. Okay. Now this is a few days ago. This is on the 27th. So this is 2 days ago that I put this in here. So we've had 1,584 applicants since January 1st. And I'm not sure what your organizations look like. We're happy with that number. And that's in the month of January and February tends to be a little bit slower for us. So we're happy with that number. We're gonna really crush last year's numbers. Now, as you can see on the right-hand side, Indeed is accounting for 87% of those applications. Okay, we're getting some from ZipRecruiter, but to be honest with you, those ZipRecruiter roles are more of our full-time managerial roles where we're hiring full-time year-round people. So I'm willing to bet that all 136 of those applicants were for full-time aquatics director, as well as a few other jobs like that. Okay, the rest, the 1,380, I can guarantee you were lifeguards and swim instructors. Okay, now the thing that is the most cost-effective thing to do is to build your culture and make it better. And then what we're going to see is we're going to see friend and colleagues start to jump up, and we don't have to spend quite as much. But our plan is to always spend the money. Now, when you do ads online, whether it's a Google ad or anywhere that you're putting stuff out about hiring, I just want you to think about what you're saying and how you're saying it. So you have to do your research on who you're speaking to. You have to create ads that literally target the people. So again, when we talk about language, when we talk about the verbiage that you use, it can't be dry, boring verbiage, because then, one, you're going to get dry, boring people. 2, you've lost out on all these other people that were looking for a cool summer job or whatever it is they were looking for. Okay, so we advertise like really rewarding, fun summer job with full flexibility. Right, we're very clear about what we want, and then we get the right people coming in for the most part. So I put this up just because I literally just did a Google search locally, and I need a part-time job, Orange County. And one was this beautiful ad for Apple. One was this really boring ad for jobaccept.com. And think about who you want and who's coming in, right? So the best job is the one you love. Apply for a part-time position, contribute to great ideas, incredible work benefits, work with top talent. Okay. People applying for that are kind of more driven, more motivated folks for the most part. versus people who are just willing to accept any job, no experience required, like who cares, it's just a job type people. I want the people who are more motivated to go work with top talent, who want to contribute to great ideas. So this was just a really interesting, I just did a search and it came up and it was just a really interesting one to find. The other thing I will just point out, and this is a sidebar, but 17 to 41 an hour, when we surveyed our people and what they thought about that posting, they thought it was a bait and switch. They thought it was too good to be true and it was kind of scammy. So if you're not being super clear about what you're paying, they're going to move on to the next role. Keep in mind, well, I don't know about you guys, but in California, McDonald's is paying 20 bucks an hour now. In and out for us, 25 an hour starting. All right, so you've got to be clear about what you're paying. And I say, like, you know, you're looking at the girl on the top versus the girl on the bottom. Like, who do you want on your team? When you think about your organization, who do you want out there representing your company, your organization, you know, or your clients or whatever it might be? I don't want her. And I don't want to sell to people who want jobs like that. I want the one down below who's super excited and bubbly and fun. So when we write job descriptions, we are really, really clear about what we're looking for. Okay. Now I want to be clear, and this is another sidebar, but it's a small group, so I think we'll be fine. We have job descriptions and then we have job agreements. They're two different documents. Okay. Job description is very fluffy. Okay, it's why you want to work for, it's a sales pitch to some degree, right? And we're talking about the high level macro stuff that they're going to be doing within the organization. But when we get down to it, we have a job agreement, which spells out you're going to be responsible for cleaning the restrooms from time to time, and this and making rescues, and we are being very, very clear. And one is more of a sales pitch, one is more of an agreement, a job agreement. So when we write a job description, which is more of the salesy pitch, video wins every time. So once they've applied, they get a video on how cool it is to work for us. Again, we found someone cool to write it. We've got staff internal. We give them some, I'll explain our happy team in a little bit, but we give them some time to create content to be able to help us recruit. Okay, we do a lot of quotes from former staff. We've had a lot of staff over the years. I mean, I think for us, we're nearing probably 6,000 people who have graduated through our program. A lot of them have gone really far. So we get quotes from those folks and they help us sell, right? The biggest thing that I would say is we have a really clear progression plan right on the job description. So the day that they're applying, they know that every 20 shifts, they're going to get this. So after 20 shifts, it's going to be this. After 40 shifts, it's a raise. After 60 shifts, it's swag. After 80 shifts, and we track that within One Team 360. Now you can track that on a spreadsheet. You can track that any way you want to track it, but One Team automates it. And we're really clear from day one what it takes to become a manager, what it takes to get a scholarship for junior college, what it takes to get whatever it is. It's all spelled out from day one, and it really helps with the recruitment. Other winning ideas on the recruitment side, we started doing this a few years ago. We started offering free interview prep classes in our communities. So this is not a Premier Aquatics thing. This is pure, come learn how to interview for your next job. And what we tend to get is we tend to get really young people. We get people who have been out of the workforce for a while. We get people who are new to the country, who are looking for work. And we sponsor ads on this one, and they come to a class at our office and we teach them how to interview, not for us, but just in general. What are the keys to having a successful interview? And what we do from that is if we get 10 people in an interview class, we'll just cherry pick the ones we like right from the class. Okay. So it's a really cool kind of subtle recruitment tool, but it works really, really well. Now, next one is group interviews, and I could spend 45 minutes on group interviews alone. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I believe group interviews are the keys to culture and efficiency in the business, especially when you're trying to scale and you're trying to hire at scale. So what we do for our group interviews, they're about an hour and a half long. We get between 10 and 12 people coming in. Now, if you think about it, in an hour and a half, I can interview 10 to 12 people versus 10 to 12 30-minute interviews. The amount of time we're saving is incredible. Now, we're accomplishing something else besides saving time and money. I'm coming in, I'm watching them interact, I'm watching them, they come in, we let them sit for 5 minutes, we see who starts to communicate with one another, who starts to just warm up and who doesn't. In the group interview, we generally start with dividing the group into 2 teams, and we run charades. And then we run another team building game. And then we get to know them a little bit. We ask questions and we test their vulnerability. Now, after some of that, then we jump into scenarios and role playing. Now, as we're getting towards the end, we're making it clear to everybody in the room that, hey, guys, unfortunately, there's 12 of you here. Unfortunately, we can only take 6 of you because our staff team is filling up pretty quickly. So if you hear from us today or tomorrow, please respond immediately, get us your paperwork immediately. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the next person. And what that does is it creates a bit of a panic. So all of you have fallen victim to the ghosting, where an interview doesn't show up, or they did show up to the interview, but then they disappear somehow miraculously from there. Well, this system kind of does away with that, because now they've built this panic to get everything done and get signed up for training, and you no longer have to drag it out of them. The most important thing that it's done, and I can't undersell this, is these people have now spent an hour to an hour and a half in this experience together. Likely, I'm offering all 12 of them a job, even though I said I was only going to offer 6. Assuming they're great, I'm offering all 12. They've built this really cool bond with one another over that hour and a half. So they're going to get invited to training together. They're going to start working together. And what it does is it kind of puts them in a position where they don't want to screw this up, right? They don't want to leave the company. They love this like little work family that they've made. They're comfortable now, and we've got them. Okay. So it's such an important piece. Again, I could spend forever on group interviews and the things we do. If anybody has questions at the end specifically about it, feel free to ask. But it saves us money, it builds our culture, it gets people hired really quickly. For our swim instructors, which I think I can glance over this quickly, but we do in-water interviews. We have the potential instructor come in. We tell them you're going to do an in-person interview. You may get asked to stay for an in-water afterwards, so bring your suit and your towel, and be prepared to teach a student anything. It could be how to put on goggles, how to tie shoelaces, how to make a sandwich. It could be anything, but it's in the water, and we're watching to see the way that they communicate with parents, with kids, with other instructors. But the most important thing we're doing is everybody thinks that they can handle the water until they're in the water, and the noise and the heat and all of it, right? So putting them in the water for a couple hours gives them a dose of what we're actually doing here, and we don't lose them after 2 days of training or 3 days of training. So we love that. Internship program is just one more idea that we use just to keep people around. This is more of a longevity piece. But basically, if they've been with us for a certain amount of years, it's 2 seasons. If they're coming back for their 3rd, and they are a certain level in our incentive program, we will help them line up the internship of their choice within our communities. So we actually have gone to our client base and said, hey, we've got people who have been with us for 2 years minimum. We've vetted them. Are you interested in offering internships to our staff after 3 years of working for us? So we have people in the DA's office. We have people in marketing firms, CPA firms, and so many more. And again, we're vetting them. So we're literally going to the DA's office and saying, hey, you've got these 3 people. They've worked for us for 3 years. They're 100% trustworthy. Can they apply for an internship? We've never been told no. It's been great. So now people actually fill out an application once they've been with us for 2 years. And for their 3rd year, we take 20 hours a week, and the internship takes 20 hours a week. We get them back. So now I've helped you think of some new ideas for hiring, and now the applications are just flowing in. So one of the most important tools that you can use is they're called an ATS, or an applicant tracking system, and they're basically automated job posting systems that get your jobs on all the job boards. They feature easy apply features like text to apply, QR code apply. They're all automated with knockout questions, but they really manage the whole process of applying for applications coming in. Because I've told you how to stand out, I've told you to go to Indeed. The thing that you have to keep in mind is that because it's so easy to apply for 10 or 12 jobs at a time, I hate to quote Ricky Bobby, but if you ain't first, you're last. So if you aren't getting back to that employee or that potential employee within roughly 20 minutes or so, someone else has already gotten back to them and they've already applied for it and they've already been invited to an interview somewhere else. Okay. So how do we possibly keep up with this? Right. Well, it's automating it. It's using a system to be able to do it. So we have knockout questions. So you apply for a job. Do you have flexibility to work 3 8-hour shifts a week? Yes or no? No? Okay, sorry, not the job for you. Okay. Do you have, if you're applying for a manager job, do you have at least 3 years of lifeguard experience? No? Knockout question. Thank you for applying. Please apply to our lifeguard job instead. But we automate that whole process all the way through automated onboarding, including all their paperwork and tax documents and so on. If anybody knows if they qualify for WOTC, not everybody does, but if your organization is within a lower socioeconomic community, you may be available for WOTC credits, which are federal tax rebates on your payroll tax. But I can talk about that more at the end if anybody's interested. Now, I have no skin in the game, but we do have a really cool partnership with Staffed Up. And Staffed Up is a pretty incredibly affordable system that is an ATS, does everything I talked about. Now, look, you can Google applicant tracking system, 100 of them will show up. Pick the one that works well for you and kind of speaks your language. But we have a really cool integration and partnership with Staffed Up. So we've hired them, now let's manage them, okay? And we know that essentially, Rockefeller said it, but good management is showing average people how to do the work of superior people. So we've got, generally speaking, our workforce is young, inexperienced. We need to teach them how to be great. 9 times out of 10, they're not likely going to be great off the bat. We need to teach them, and it starts with training. So we say that our orientations and our trainings have to be fun. They have to be interactive. And if you're lecturing to them, you're losing them. Okay. I go back to Ferris Bueller and I think about the lecturing class. No one's learning a thing. Okay. It has to be an experience. And for us, our theme is micro learning. So we do really small steps. We talk about it, we train it, and then we talk about it again. Pick up the next skill. So an example would be in our swim schools, back floats. We have a very specific handhold we use for back floats. We talk about it in the classroom. We get in the water, we try it, we show them why we're doing it this way, and then we go back to the classroom, we discuss what they learned, okay? And we do that, obviously we're gonna do about 5 or 10 skills at a time, so we're not in and out of the water all day, but we do very small steps as we train them. And we actually built, again, shameless plug, one team is built around these micro learnings, okay? So for us, the tools we use a learning management system. Again, I don't have any stake, but we use, for us, it's Talent LMS. And we build all of our courses in there and we distribute them to our staff. So they get some pre-work before we see them in person. We have a pretty interactive employee handbook that changes almost monthly. It talks about policies more than the learning side. And then we use a system called Trainual, which is an online training manual is the way to think about it. If you think about the old binder that sat next to the phone that reminded you how to do these certain things, Trainual is our system for that. It's just all online. And then the last tool we use, which I'm going to get booze and I think Joe, when we were on that panel in Reno, this came up, parent orientation. Parent orientation is so important for us. We build raving super fans with the parents. They get to know me as a small business owner. So I'm hoping that they decide not to sue me one day for something stupid. But the parent orientation is, we talk about how great the job is and what their kids are going to learn and how important it is that the parents understand what the kids are doing, and here's the leadership skills we're going to teach. And there's so much there with the parent orientation. I cannot recommend it enough. And then obviously, again, shameless plug for one team going forward. So the picture says it all. If we're just spitting knowledge at them and lecturing them, it's never going to work. But if we can give them this experience of this training experience, everything else changes. Okay. And I say that we can't meet expectations if the expectations are unclear. We have to show them what we want. And we make it an experience from day one. This is one of our in-services with one of our staff teams. And all right, so I don't even know that we can even hear it, but basically, our trainings are fun. Here they're splitting up into four. They're doing a little mock swim meet for one of our swim instructor trainings, where we're doing. Everybody's teaching each other new strokes, and then we're doing a little mock swim meet. But we tend to have a lot of fun with it. I bring these guys up, and I'll glance over them quickly. But Sal and Mike, our director of training and our director of field operations, we've gotten to a point now where we don't know what we don't know. So Sal and Mike, their roles are really to be out in our communities of our communities, our staff, learning about what we're doing right, learning about what we're doing wrong, giving people feedback. Half the time when things don't go right, it's because we didn't prepare them in the right way. It's not their fault, it's our fault. And as soon as I changed the way I thought about that, everything changed for us. So when we added these guys, it's been huge. But I just want to say that again, generally speaking, when our kids, our employees are screwing up, it's our fault. Generally speaking, it's not their fault. Okay. So Mike and Sal have been brought in to kind of figure out where those problems are. Sal's creating new trainings all the time. So we have a mentor program, a mentorship program for new staff. Sal's rewriting the entire program now because the feedback hasn't been great, right? So you don't need a full-time person to do this. You can have one person working 1 hour a week on this type of stuff, right? Think about that person who's guarding 40 hours a week, who is likely going to quit because they're just going crazy doing what they're doing. What about giving that person 1 hour a day just to walk and talk to people and survey them and ask them questions and get feedback from them? One, you've probably saved this person, but your organization, you've probably saved your organization at the same time, right? So just want you to think outside the box. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It could be someone who, and for us on our swim school side, it could be if lower level swim instructors get an hour a week just to be out on deck watching and talking to parents. Just nothing. They're not adding any true, like real tangible value, but they feel like they have a say in what's going on, and they learn so much. We learn so much from what they learn. So, and I throw this in there. If the face of your business doesn't want to form relationships, find a new face. So when we're talking about culture and retaining people, if the person running the show doesn't enjoy people, they shouldn't be the person running the show. Maybe they can be back office. We've got one of those that we tend to keep in the back office. Really, really good at what he does, but isn't the friendliest person in the world. We don't put him out in front of people anymore because people were quitting if they worked for him. Now, as a company, we need him. He's very organized. There's certain things we need. But it was very easy for us to just say, hey, handle scheduling, handle payroll, handle these things that no one else wants to do. You're invaluable to our business, but we just don't want to put you in front of a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds. Okay. So we've hired them, we've managed them. Let's talk about retaining them. So we know this is from Gallup. This is survey. This is actual data. Talented employees stay for these 7 reasons. They're paid well, appreciated, listened to, promoted, involved in decisions, mentored, and challenged. Now, I've thought a lot about this over the past few months, and the way that we are basically checking 5 of these boxes, 4 to 5 of these boxes, is the simplest thing in the world, and it's one meaningful conversation a week. So when you think about my org chart that I showed you in the beginning, I've got basically 6 direct reports, 7 direct reports. My job, outside of my job, is to have one meaningful conversation with each of those people every single week. Doesn't have to be a 2-hour conversation. It could be a 20-minute conversation. Doesn't have to be scheduled. It certainly doesn't have to be about work. Okay. It's just, how are you doing? What's going on? What do you think of this new thing? Any ideas so far? Right? It's just basic conversation. Now, when I do that, instantly, I make those people feel appreciated. I make them feel listened to. I make them feel like they're involved in decisions because I'm learning a lot from them and we're making decisions based on what they're telling me. I definitely make them feel mentored because, I mean, for my people, it's the boss. I'm sitting with them. And then 7, challenged, we definitely push them to be challenged because in those conversations, I can give them feedback on things that are going right and wrong on their side, and we can push them. Okay, so just by having one meaningful conversation a week, and honestly, I'm making a little checklist of who I've talked to every week, and I literally just walk into their office, sit at their chair, and say, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" And it's been a big change for us. And it leads really nicely into the fact that my business is not a dictatorship. It is not me running. Yet I own it and I pay the bills, and I have last say. But really, we are a democracy. There's no one on my team who doesn't know that it's a democracy. We all are in this together. I want them to live this, to love this. I have to let them know that it's theirs as well. So we do that by running a very clear democracy. And we're very clear about our goals as well. So this is 2021. It's a little bit old, but you can see our goals up top and our actual enrollments. So this is our weekly enrollments for swim lessons. You know, I've set these goals. They've got to achieve them. This is right where they clock in. This sits right on above the desk, and they can see whether we're achieving our goals or not. And they can also see what they're going to earn if we achieve our goals for the month or for the week. Okay, so they've got skin in the game. They need to know that from the janitor all the way through the deck managers and the site managers, all of them have input. They all have the ability to actually affect what's going on day in and day out, and they can see how their actions affect that. Okay, and we coach on that a lot about how every single person, every conversation matters towards our goals. Okay. So do you share your goals with your team? Do they have skin in the game? And then the question is, what would it cost you to actually reward them, right? I don't care if it's a $40 pizza party, right? They feel like they've achieved something and they've achieved a goal and they've won something and achieved a goal. Cost you nothing. And you've achieved these really cool goals. And most importantly, remember, you can't do it on your own. You need these people to be bought in. So if they don't feel like they have skin in the game and they have shared purpose, it's going to be really hard to keep things going. Now and this is one team, but again, track it wherever you want to track it. We track what's called a positivity index, which is a team rating. So it's based on my lifeguard team at this facility. Like, are we showing up on time? Are we in uniform? Are we passing our in-services? Are we doing all the things we're supposed to be doing? If so, we're getting great ratings every day. We grade our employees every single day. And that feeds to this positivity index. If we achieve, for us, it's 90% in a calendar month, we give little swag and little gifts. Okay. But let me tell you, we keep achieving 90+%, and we're going to keep gaining contracts. We're going to keep getting bigger. It's a win-win for everybody. I'll touch on Happy Team quickly because I don't know how much this makes sense for everybody, but in our incentive program, when you reach a level 4, you can qualify to interview for the Happy Team. And the Happy Team is basically, I talked about those people who write job descriptions and they get an hour out of the water or off the deck to do other cool stuff. That's our Happy Team. So they get a couple $100 a month to spend on customer fun and employee fun. And they handle all of our social media, e-blasts for us, Swimmer of the Month, all of our events. Half the things I don't even pay them for. They just do it because they love to do it. And it's been pretty incredible. And for us and our Happy Team, for an example, like this is our Halloween event where we had the community came out like you cannot imagine. But the Happy Team even will do poker night at the swim school, where we open the swim school for our employees and their friends. And obviously they can't touch the pool and there's no booze allowed, but we allow them to use some of our open spaces as a cool meeting spot for some of these high school and early college age students, this is a big deal for them. They feel like they feel like big shots, right? And I love that. This is their facility. They've helped me build it. So, and so much more. I'll skip the video. They're dancing. It's a really fun event. But in the interest of time, I'll skip it. So I just want to remind you, and I hope that we've kind of gone through this, but in order to retain top talent, you need more than this competitive strategy. It's about engagement, and it's about learning and growing. So it really, the days of just offering a job and having the job be filled, they're gone. They're gone. My job is to make it fun. Obviously, there's the safety, there's the finance, there's all those things, but we have to make this somewhere where people want to work and want to be. We work for our employees. We do. And the way we learn from them is through surveys. We do this for clients and employees alike. So regular cadence surveys with specific questions, what do you think of the new t-shirt material for lifeguards? What do you think of the new snacks in the break room? What do you think of things? So we survey on that all the way through. What do you think of your manager, right? And I'll show you those types of surveys. So very specific questions, but you have to be ready to take action. You can't just survey and forget about it. Once they've given you their opinion, they want to know that they were heard and that you're going to do something about it. Okay. The other one is an NPS survey, or a Net Promoter Score. Some of you may have heard of it, some not, but basically you end up with one of three types of people. Best case scenario, you get a promoter. They've given you a 9 or 10 on one of your surveys. Now we do these on regular cadence for our specifically for our clients. Okay. You've been with us a month. How was your first month? What do you think of Premier? Okay. 9 or 10, awesome. The system will automatically send them back a Google review form or a Yelp review form. Thanks so much for your 10 rating. Please, would you share it on Google? It really helps our business. Passives will get the same email, but they'll ask for recommendations on how we can take them from an 8 to a 10. Okay, so there's a little write-in section. Hey, sounds like you like us. How do we get you to love us? Would you give us a review? And then detractors are those 0 to 6, and that actually sends alarm bells off in our office. Detractors are really cool people. One, they're upset enough where they're willing to go out and say something, but they're also, if they're coming here and they're filling out a 0 to 6, they want to be heard. They're giving you an opportunity to fix the problem. You cannot ignore them. So if a detractor submits a survey, it'll be 10 minutes before they get a phone call max. We're going to drop everything we're doing. We're going to call them. What have we done wrong? How do we fix it? How do we get you to a 9 or a 10? Okay. If you do not get back to a detractor quickly, they're going public generally. And we say they're going nuclear, but they're going public. They're going to go to Google, but they're going to say really bad things about you. Okay. And that stuff does matter. Okay. When people are looking for jobs now, or people are looking for swim schools or places to swim or whatever it might be, they're going to look to see what your ratings are. Okay. And then the last one, we do this every day, every shift. Every one of our employees is pushed out a 360-degree survey. So they actually get to rate the managers that interacted with them. So if they had 2 managers interact with them that day, they get to give them ratings. The managers get an anonymous report card. It's basically at the end of the week, your team rated you a 4.6 out of 5. Here's your feedback. Your team rated you a 2.2. Here's your feedback. The beauty is, as an ownership group, or as ownership, I get to look at this and be like, holy smokes, so-and-so's been working with me for 2 years, but I wasn't sure about him. People are giving us really horrible ratings about him. Maybe it's time to pull him off the team. Okay. So what we find is that people don't generally tell you they're unhappy until they quit. Well, these surveys allow us to find out really, really quickly. And we get to salvage a lot of people we would have otherwise lost. Okay. Last things here, we do offer training reimbursements. We do push smaller rewards way more often. And the biggest thing is we don't make them chase the rewards. They have to get them right away. So figure out a way to automate that. Again, we automate it in one team, but figure out another way to automate it if you're using spreadsheets or whatever you're using. Don't make them chase it. I do have a profit sharing plan for my leadership team. And we make sure that whatever we are giving, it's specific to those employees. So we actually track. You can see here, Starburst is his favorite candy. His favorite fast food is Taco Bell. His favorite drink is hot chocolate in the winter and strawberry lemonade in the summer. So when Noah does something incredible for us, I'm not just giving him like a blanket gift card. I'm actually showing up with Starburst because he loves Starburst, right? So going above and beyond in that way is such a big thing, and it goes so far with the employees. I busted through it quickly, but I made the 45-minute mark. I'm gonna keep my email up here if anybody has any questions. I'm gonna open up the chat. We can, oh, thanks, Patrick. Unmute yourself, ask questions. I'm here. If you have specifics or you would like the slide deck, just email me. Happy to share it with you. But otherwise, you can unmute yourself if anybody has any questions or any comments.
Yeah, so Dan, just before others chip in, I have to say this is extremely sophisticated. I've been around the block a couple of times. I have never seen something as sophisticated as this in the pool management circles. So definitely a huge, huge kudos to you. And for the audience, I haven't seen this presentation before. So thoroughly impressed. Just kind of taking off your presenter hat, right? And, from just a visceral, as a guy out there who owns a company who's doing good work in the area and having to do the boots on the ground stuff, right? It's obviously made a difference or you wouldn't be presenting, right? But just viscerally, just as an owner and a guy who's doing this stuff, right? How has this shifted your practices and your successes and how your own staff has been impacted by these practices?
I mean, it's funny. I don't know any different. So and I hope I answer your question, but we just hired someone from a large national swim school brand, and they have 3-week training programs where they fly them wherever, and it's this whole thing. And he walked in and he said, "Holy smokes, man, we've never seen it. This is completely night and day. This is different." And I think the biggest difference is culture. And culture, I know it's a buzzword, and I know that, but culture has always been a big thing. And our litmus, and it sounds super cheesy and super stupid, but our litmus test is when they stop working for us, do they still come visit us in the off season, or when they come back for summer and they've got real jobs? Are we invited to their weddings? Are we all these things, right? That's our litmus. So last summer, we had dozens of people who no longer work for us, who have kind of graduated out of our ecosystem, who came back and spent the day with us and did ride-alongs with us and wanted to get back in it. And that's been our litmus. But again, it's hard for me to answer your question. I know that people come from other organizations and they don't want to leave us. I know that, right? The only reason they leave us is because we don't have enough upward mobility, right? Which is why I want to grow, so I can create more upward mobility for folks. But I don't know if I answered your question, but it's hard to answer because I don't know any different. I've always tried to push the envelope with this stuff.
No, that's cool. I mean, just the fact that you're as successful in your retention as you are is definitely, I think that speaks for itself in lots of ways. And you're spot on too. It's about culture, right? It's about culture. And, you early in the presentation, you hit the nail on the head, right? You got to pay to play. That's been something that I've heard several times over the last couple of years as we've really been heightened and really the lifeguard shortage has deepened, is that those who play, they don't have any problems.
Yep.
Their staff. Those who pay rather. So yeah,
Yep.
definitely good stuff.
Yeah, and
very quickly, we had a comment just to complimenting you on the parent orientation and group interviews. Can you take just a couple of minutes, right, and just expand a little bit more than what you have in the presentation on either of those?
Sure, sure. And I do have slide decks on both, but while we're talking, I can actually pull up a parent orientation slide deck just to show you. But really, the parent orientation, I don't do them as often as the rest of them. Because I can get 200 parents in one orientation, right? I think I'm offering 5 between now and the middle of the season. So we tend to chock them full of people. I have one of my employees on the back end that can answering easy questions. We do pay our employees for their parents to attend. So it's generally a 20 to 25 minute training. We pay our employees an hour for their parents to attend that 25 minutes. Okay. But we require it. Do we let them not work if they don't do it? No, they work. We get them going, but we definitely see that there's way more a much more successful employee if their parents have attended. Okay. But we talk about when they get paid, how they get paid, how they can view their pay stubs, all the questions think about the questions you get all the time. How do I submit vacation? And the other thing it fixes this whole issue of parents going, surprise, we're going to Hawaii for 3 weeks in the middle of summer, right? Now parents understand who that impacts and what goes on. We have little videos from parents of swim students saying, we love that we see Coach Joe every week, and that he's just to kind of pull on the heartstrings a little bit, and it helps so much. As far as the group interviews, if there's any specific questions, feel free to ask. Again, I can kind of give you, we have a cheat sheet of the different games we play and how we do it. Happy to share that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Patrick. I had a quick question. Maybe I'm in aquatics, so I always think about work.
I think we lost you, Patrick. All right, Patrick, we lost you. Does anybody want to guess what Patrick was going to talk
And
about?
for those that are like really strapped for employees, like I have awesome grandmas who teach regard for me. And then like I always want a foothold into the school systems or maybe the high schools. Do you feel like you have teachers who kind of feed into you as well, whether they're gym teachers teaching lifeguarding in the school systems or swim coaches? Have you built relationships? To me, to build the culture, I always I wish I don't have my teaching cert, so I don't have that foothold into the school. Could you speak to that maybe?
Sure. We actually do and I only heard a portion of that because you did cut out for a second. But what I will tell you is that we a huge recruiting avenue for us are the high schools and the colleges. We actually we start in October. We sponsor all of the different sports to the tune of about $100 a sport, and that allows us to come in and speak to their kids. We do a 10-minute pitch on why working for us is the way to go. The biggest challenge is the fact that the coaches think it's going to get in the way of the sport. So generally, if you can, we've done this where we show up on deck and we just say, or show up to the baseball field or the tennis courts or the volleyball, whatever it is. Football is great, by the way, because you get so many kids in one meeting, and you basically tell them, you show the coach how they set their availability, how flexible the job is, that if a game pops up, they can get coverage real easy. Once the coaches feel comfortable that you're not going to steal them from the sport during the summer specifically, they generally will allow you in. And then we start sponsoring banners on the pool deck, banners in the gym. So what we do is we find the high schools that surround our areas that we struggle, and we blitz them. We'll hit every single sport. We'll hit drama. We'll hit everything. But the key is really making sure that they understand the flexibility and the fact that if something comes up, like for us, it's water polo. Water polo tends to be the most disorganized sport in the entire universe. they're going to learn about a game the morning of the game, and they have a shift that afternoon. There was nothing scheduled, but they wake up and coach just sent a text out to the team saying, "Hey guys, surprise game today, 3." Right? So we had to become very, very flexible and allow them to go get coverage and staff enough people that coverage is available. So hopefully that helps. Christy, I'd be happy to. Christy, will you shoot me an email when you can, and I'll just
Sure will. Sure will. Be careful what you say about water polo, Dan. I played in college, so.
We love water polo. A lot of our
I do.
staff are, but they are disorganized. Volleyball and water polo tend to be like, what in the world? Joe, I can't afford you, but if I could, I'll steal you.
I know, right? I would too.
We won't let Rack know that.
Yeah. Well, I'm here. So if anybody needs anything, I'll stick around for a few more minutes. But if there's any questions, I'm here. And if anybody wants to find time afterwards, happy to talk. Patrick, if you want to talk through the recruiting side, I'm happy to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so-
Thanks. That was great.
Okay.
Well, Dan, we're coming towards the end. What we'll do is, since you graciously offered just kind of chat a little bit afterwards, we'll leave everything open just for a couple of more minutes for George, Patrick, whoever to just kind of pick your brain if you're open to it.
Yep.
But we'll go ahead and we'll kind of end the webinar now, and we'll probably edit out the ending stuff, right? Those conversations. But I want to thank you for your time today to come in and share this, what is, in my opinion, a master class in how this stuff is the best approach to work for the future, right? And like I said, I've seen a lot of different approaches. I've seen nothing like this. And I'm so very happy that you carved time out today to share this with us.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you for having me.
many thanks for you, Dan.
Yeah.
With that being said, thank you all for attending. We're going to go ahead and end today. So Jill, you can cut the feed or the editing after this. And thank y'all very much.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all attending. Thanks, Dan.